All right, welcome to the FantasyAid Podcast. I'm Andrew here with JD Bala. JD, it's been an eventful couple days since we last talked.
Yes, it has. I was figuring a little bit of a shorter week here, but still plenty to talk about.
Yeah, especially on the injury front. I'm sure a lot of people have lost at least one star off their team. I know I have.
Well, if you're lucky, you've only lost one.
Yeah. So we'll jump right in. But first, if you ever want to ask us any questions when we're not live streaming, you can check out our Twitters. Mine's at FantasyAid1, at FantasyAid1.
Mine's is at Joe Deef. That's JoeDieff at Joe Deef.
All right, so we're going to get right into the first part. It's time for the first aid station. Joe, what's happening in the NL?
In my AL, we got Alex Cobb just started a Class A rehab yesterday. So those have been waiting for him to come back. He's got at least 30 days to be down before he comes back. Over on the Blue Jays, we got was All-Star participant Marco Estrada. Just went on the DL yesterday. It's retro to 7-3 with a sore back. For those who are in deeper two-catcher leagues or deeper leagues, the White Sox catcher Alex Avila went on DL yesterday with a right hamstring strain. Going into the AL Central, we got Jordan Zimmerman went on the DL on the 4th, retro to the 1st with a right neck strain, but he's expected to be back by mid-July, so probably just a couple of, maybe a start or two over this All-Star break. He's not going to miss too much. For the Royals, they've been hit a little harder. Their All-Star closer Wade Davis went on the DL on the 5th, retro to the 1st. He has a right forearm strain. That means that Herrera or Soria will be expected to share closing duties. No one's really been named quite yet. Kendrys Morales, he missed yesterday's game with some back soreness, so keep an eye on that. He's prone to injury from time to time. And the young fireballer, Yordano Ventura, he exited early on 7-3 from his start with a sprained right ankle, but he threw a side session on the 4th and looks like he's still going to be able to pitch his next turn. But also another thing you can keep a lookout for. On the Twins, we got Trevor Plouffe. He went on the DL on the 4th with a fractured left rib. He's not due back till at least August at the very earliest. So now this means that Sano will get the majority of playing time at third base, which means he'll be third base eligible in all leagues. And also next year, if he gets up to 20 games like it's expected, he'll be third base next year in all leagues as well. Going into the West, we got C.J. Wilson, who was trying to come back from his injury. He recently went under season-ending surgery to repair fraying of labrum in his rotator cuff on the 5th. Over on the Mariners, Felix Hernandez, he threw a 45-pitch simulated game yesterday. He's scheduled to begin his rehab assignment on the 10th, so he could be back shortly after the All-Star break himself. Their young fireballer, Taijuan Walker, went on the DL as of the 6th with right foot tendonitis. This means that he'll stay in the rotation longer now. You don't have to worry about him getting booted out anytime soon. And for the Rangers, Sin-Shu Chu, he exited the game early on the 5th with lower back tightness. And he's not in the starting lineup as of yesterday. He's been on the DL a couple of times and now has left another game early, so keep an eye on him. They have another player, young right-handed fireballer, Kian Kela. He was recently sent on a AAA rehab assignment as of the 4th. He was possibly thought of as a closer candidate before he got hurt, so could be on his way back up soon. And finally, Mitch Moreland was scratched from the starting lineup but pinch hit on the 3rd, and he hasn't been in the lineup since. He was suffering from right calf muscle. That's it for my AL. Who's been hurt over in the NL?
All right, there's definitely a couple major guys. Obviously, the biggest news that broke today is Matt Harvey has thoracic outlet syndrome and is basically considering season-ending surgery, and that is a tough break for Fat Harvey. Another big injury happened yesterday. That's Matt Carpenter. He injured his oblique. Details are still coming out on that, but we're looking at least a month, probably more. Definitely going to hurt the Cardinals there. Greg Garcia is probably going to be getting most of the playing time because of that. He actually batted leadoff today. He's more a deeper guy you'll want to pick up. He won't be relevant in 12-team leagues. Again, going with the Cardinals, you got Brandon Moss. He left while running out a grounder. Did something to his leg there, but due to an ankle injury, he's on the 15-day DL. But that brought up Randall Grichuk, who has hit very well since coming up. And he's probably going to be on my Tap the Wire coming out later tonight as he's been hitting. I've been pretty encouraged by what I see from him. And then the Nats keep getting hit with rotation injuries. You know, you had Joe Ross going on the DL. The positive there is that even though Strasburg came back, Giolito is going to stick for now because of Ross. So keep looking for him there. Obviously, the Pirates lost Jameson Taillon to a shoulder injury. Obviously, we had Glasnow pitch today, and you got to think he keeps that spot, especially with knee stealing some things too. But tough break for Taillon, who was looking pretty good. We got Justin Bour out for the Marlins. Of course, he was just a platoon guy. He can't hit lefties, but definitely a tough break there for the Marlins. Chris Coughlin's out for the Cubs. If you're in a deeper league too, he's injured. And then Kevin Segras is still out with mono, but he's progressing and should be back soon. And that's the roundup there for the NL. You know, one last mention: Kershaw, no timetable yet, but he has cleared to play catch. So that's pretty encouraging for Kershaw.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's only been 5 days since the last pod, but all of a sudden, there's a couple All-Stars down for the count here.
Yeah, it's tough. Now, Harvey, you know, he was kind of hit and miss all year, but I'm sure a lot of people were still counting on him for the second half. I know I was in a couple leagues, and I'm not even sure what to do with him at this point. Obviously, you know, maybe wait another day or two to hear what happens, but he's probably almost droppable now in redraft leagues.
Yeah, and most redrafts, if you don't have the DL spot available, it's just going to have to be a droppable situation right now.
Yeah. So we got the All-Star game coming up. The All-Star voting's been released. So why don't you talk about the AL and what you see there?
All right. Well, as voted on by you, the fans, my AL starting lineup is Salvador Perez from Kansas City at catcher. First baseman Eric Hosmer, also from Kansas City. Second base, Altuve from Houston. The starting third baseman will be Manny Machado from Baltimore. Our starting shortstop, Xander Bogaerts from Boston. And in the outfield, starting is Mike Trout from the Los Angeles Anaheim Angels, Mookie Betts from Boston, and his right fielder, also in Boston, Jackie Bradley Jr. The starting DH, also from Boston, in his final year, David Ortiz. Who's the starters out in the NL?
All right, starters for the Red Sox and Cubs game. I mean the All-Star game for the NL is that catcher Buster Posey for the Giants, Rizzo for the Cubs, Zobrist for the Cubs, Addison Russell for the Cubs, Chris Bryant for the Cubs. I don't know if you see a pattern here, but yes, that is an all Cubs infield right there. Bryce Harper is going for the Washington Nationals in the outfield. You got Yoenis Cespedes, and you got Dexter Fowler, who's obviously injured, and someone will play in his place.
Well, at least there's a couple of Cubs that wasn't in there.
Yeah.
All right. As for, I'll go through the reserves here, and then I'll name off all the pitchers and everything real quick. Reserve catchers, we got Matt Wieters from Baltimore and Stephen Vogt from Oakland. The backup first baseman, even though I think he should be starting myself, is Miguel Cabrera from Detroit. Backup second baseman, Robinson Cano from Seattle. Also backing up in third base, Josh Johnson from Toronto. We got at shortstop, Francisco Lindor from Cleveland. And Minnesota's one player in their all-star team, Eduardo Nunez, who plays third and short. Out in the outfield, we got Carlos Beltran from the Yankees, Ian Desmond, the shortstop center fielder from the Rangers, the first baseman outfielder Mark Trumbo from Baltimore. Edwin Encarnacion is the Blue Jays DH, who's going to be hitting right behind Ortiz. As of the announcement was made, a couple of them now hurt though, but the 5 starting pitchers that made it are Marco Estrada from the Blue Jays, Cole Hamels from the Rangers, Danny Salazar from the Indians, Chris Sale from the White Sox, and the knuckleballer Stephen Wright from the Red Sox. In the bullpen, got a bunch of arms from that bullpen. Not all of them closers though, like I suspect I've heard in the NL, but Dylan Betances from the Yankees, Brad Brock from the Orioles, his closer, Zach Britton from the Orioles, Alex Colomé from the Rays, Wade Davis was named to the team, but is now on the DL. I'm not sure if he was named in his stead, but Kelvin Herrera, also from the Royals, made the team. Craig Kimbrell from the Red Sox, Andrew Miller, the closer now, 7th, 8th inning man from the Yankees, and Will Harris, the new closer for the Houston Astros, has also made the team. Who's your reserves over in the NL?
All right. If you look at the NL reserve bench, one could argue it's a lot better than the actual lineup. The 2 catchers, you got Jonathan Lucroy from the Brewers and Wilson Ramos from the Nationals, who I think you can make a case for Ramos starting. Paul Goldschmidt, the first baseman for the Diamondbacks, and Will Myers, the first baseman for the Padres, are our backup first basemen. Daniel Murphy, who, comparing him with Ben Zobrist, it's pretty close. Both, you can make a case for either of them. He's made it for the Nationals. Corey Seager, the should-be starting shortstop, but on the bench for the Dodgers. Third baseman Nolan Arenado of the Rockies. Infielder Matt Carpenter, who's injured, which brings me to his replacement, Aledmus Diaz, in his first All-Star game. Cargo from the Rockies. The lone Philly, Odubel Herrera, and breakout candidate Marcell Ozuna, and also Adam Duvall from the Reds. Now, if you look at the NL pitching, I was pretty surprised you only had 5 starters there because there's more starters than relievers for the NL. You got Jake Arrieta, the fireballer from the Cubs, Madison Bumgarner, the Giants lefty, Johnny Cueto from the Giants, Jose Fernandez from the Marlins. Obviously, you have Clayton Kershaw, who won't be pitching because he's injured. The Cubs pitcher John Lester, the Nats Steven Strasburg, the Mets Noah Syndergaard, and the Braves Julio Teheran. And that's all the starters. We only have 5 relievers, and those are Familia from the Mets, Kenley Jansen from the Dodgers, Mark Melancon from the Pirates, and teammates AJ Ramos and Fernando Ross. And those are the guys on the NL.
Yeah, so they went a little starter heavy as opposed to the AL where they got a lot more bullpen arms.
They definitely did, and I don't know if that's a good thing because, relievers are used to coming in at different points in the game where starters aren't. And, obviously it's just the All-Star game, but when it counts for home field advantage, it's still pretty important.
So now that Kershaw is hurt, who do you think will be on the mound to start the All-Star game for the NL?
That is a tough one. There are several deserving guys. Obviously, the Mets manager is managing it because they went to the World Series, and I think that gives a leg up for Noah Syndergaard. But it's going to be between Syndergaard, Fernandez, and Bumgarner in my position, with maybe Strasburg. But if I had to take a guess, I'll go with Jose Fernandez.
Yeah, like you say, because it's the Mets manager, because they went to the World Series last year. Probably going to end up being Syndergaard, as you really can't see any other choice myself except for Chris Sale. I mean, possibly Danny Salazar, but Sale's done it a couple seasons longer, so I can't see anyone but Sale on the bump for the AL to start out.
Yeah, I think looking at it too, definitely the reason the NL has a lot more starters is because the NL has a lot better starters than the AL does.
That's very true. You also don't have to. All right, shall we go to top 5 players not on the All-Star rosters?
All right, and we can switch off back and forth. I'll start with the first guy, and my first guy is, and I know he's on the final vote, but he's in last right now, and that's Jake Lamb, third baseman from the D-backs.
Wow, he's in last?
He is in the 5th spot on the final 5 vote. No, sorry, Braun is 4th, but yeah,
okay.
Doubtful that he's going to make it.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but like I was saying before to some other people, he just plays the wrong position in the NL.
Right, there's so many good third basemen, but I mean, you look at his numbers, and he's got 20 home runs. His slugging is amazing, and he's not just a platoon guy that some people see him. He's actually batting against lefties now.
Right. I think that was the problem is originally, like at the beginning of the season, he was platooning, and people might still have that view of him that haven't seen him lately.
Right.
All right. My first guy is slugging outfielder Nelson Cruz from the Mariners. He's got a 277, 52 runs, 22 home runs, and 57 RBIs. Not bad numbers whatsoever.
No. Definitely not. Yeah, I had to research him because he was on my bust list. So now I was surprised by his numbers. I didn't know he was doing that well.
Yeah. West Coast bias.
Yeah, seems that way. My second guy is Gregory Polanco. He's having a breakout year. You can make a case for him and Marte, but I went with him because Marte's on the final 5 vote. So, I mean, he's batting .291, 12 home runs, 50 RBIs, 9 stolen bases. He's just having a really good year, and kind of surprised that neither of those outfielders actually made it onto the All-Star team.
Yeah, I guess it just seems like certain teams, because when I tell you who my next person is a teammate of the guy that I already said. So I guess just some certain teams don't have the cachet to get into the All-Star game. I don't know. But my next guy is Kyle Seager from also a Mariner. And strangely enough, he's also batting .277, 51 runs scored, 17 home runs, and 56 RBIs with a stolen base. So, I don't know. I guess the M's can't get any love out here.
Yeah, and I mean, Seager, he's Mr. Reliable because you always know what stats he's going to put up, but he's outpacing his usual stats. It looks like he's going to even be better this year than he usually is.
But I think also, like in the NL, third base is kind of a hard position to crack these days.
Right. My third guy is a Cardinal, and that's Sung Won Oh. He was snubbed. He's been one of the best non-closers this year. He's got a 1.67 ERA in 43 innings. He's got 58 strikeouts to only 13 walks with a .884 WHIP. I definitely thought he deserved to get on that All-Star team.
Yeah, it doesn't sound bad at all, and he's also been named the closer recently as well, right?
Right.
All right. I guess I'm going with my All Sluggers club here because my next guy is actually Chris Davis from the Baltimore Orioles. I think 235, but he has an incredible 62 runs scored with 21 home runs and 56 RBIs. So his batting average isn't too spectacular, but all the other categories he's doing much damage.
Right. He's been solid. That entire Orioles team is one big slug and home run team there. My next guy is San Diego pitcher Drew Pomeranz. He's got a 7-7 record, but he's got 109 strikeouts in 95 innings with a 2.65 ERA, 39 walks, which is a little high, but he's been really good this year. And his numbers, he was under 2 ERA for the longest time, so he's been pretty good.
Oh, yeah. Sounds like you're naming off some players from my teams. You sure this is your top 5 players on the All-Star game? You're not just reading my roster? All right. I got a couple of pitchers here now. I got Corey Kluber from the Indians. He's got a little bit of a higher ERA this year at 3.79, but still got a nice 1.04 WHIP. He's got 8 wins and 114 strikeouts this year. So think he'd be deserving if they didn't go so reliever heavy this year.
Definitely. My last guy is Max Scherzer, who's currently leading major leagues in strikeouts. Obviously, he wouldn't have been if Kershaw didn't go in the DL, but still, his numbers are impressive. He's 9-6 with a 3.2 on ERA, 155 strikeouts and 120 innings with an under 1.0 WHIP. His only problem has been the home run ball this year, which is why the ERA is over 3, but he's still a deserving candidate.
And for my last guy, you might want to avert your ears. But it's the young rookie fireballer Michael Fulmer from the Tigers, who's had an incredible 2.11 ERA, the 1.1 WHIP, already up to 9 wins, and got 72 strikeouts, and he came up maybe a month after the season started. So he's really impressed after his very slow initial start.
Right. He keeps going ever since he developed that new pitch. No one slowed him down yet.
Very true.
Of course, if you look at my team stats, you'll show he had something like a 5.35 ERA for me, but
yeah, it's one of those things where you have a young kid that just came up and he's getting hammered and hurting your team, and you just can't keep on running him out there. So,
right.
As soon as you drop him, and then he starts going crazy, and it happens.
Right. So we're about to halfway point. You know, we're getting close to the All-Star break, and it's the time when you start reflecting on some of the draft mistakes and things you got right with your sleepers and your busts. So we're going to look over that now. The names we pulled are the guys I posted really early in the off season on this channel, FantasyAid. And actually, when I was going to look back at, just check out the videos there, I've definitely noticed gotten a lot better at making videos since then, those early vids.
Hey, gotta start somewhere.
Yeah. So I guess instead of just going over the whole list at once, because that would be a lot of talking, we'll just we'll both do 2 at a time, just to keep things rolling.
How about we both do 3 at a time? So
yeah, we'll go 3 at a time.
All right,
you can start off.
All right, so I just had these in order when I watched the videos. this is how they came out in order when I was watching it. So I go with the batters here first. First guy is Justin Bour. Over the season, he's been 268 with 30 runs, 15 home runs, and 4 as a Yahoo ADP of 247.2, ESPN 212, and in Fantrax you could get him at 238.18. So you weren't having to spend much draft capital on him. He was basically like a last round pick almost.
Right.
However, his current Yahoo and over his past 30 days, he's been heating up. He's the 90th ranked player in 5x5 leagues.
All right, so definitely worked out there.
Yeah, so I'll say that's a win for you. Next, you had Orlando Arcia. His minor league numbers thus far, he hasn't been called up quite yet, but down in the AAA, he's been 265 with 51 runs scored, 7 home runs, 39 RBIs, and 12 stolen bases. He went undrafted everywhere. But actually in Fantrax, their ADP is 456.32 because they have some deeper leagues you can do there, and they also have minor league rosters where you can stash players. So
right. What happened there was nobody saw VR coming, and he's definitely delayed Arcia's time there.
Right, yeah. The speculation was he'd be right up after the Super 2, and VR has almost been an all-star this year, so yeah.
Right, and of course, didn't Aaron Hill just get traded to the Red Sox?
Yes, he did. Woohoo!
So that what I think that could potentially VR could go to third, and we could see Arcia in the second half.
That possibility just became a, I won't say a lock, but yeah, it's definitely looking that way as of now. And my next player, he's only batting 230 so far. He's got 41 runs scored, 15 home runs, 40 RBIs with 6 steals. He went undrafted in ESPN. You could get him at 242.1 in Yahoo, which is basically undrafted, and 254.45 in Fantrax. His Yahoo rank on the season is 200, so a little bit undrafted status.
Right.
Over his last month, he's 657. He's really been struggling over his last month, so
definitely.
You can probably find him on some waiver wires near you.
All right. Well, I'll start off with the busts, and the first one was probably one of my best ones, and that is Shelby Miller. He was going in the 16th round. He was about the 47th pitcher off the board in Yahoo. He's pitched 69 innings, 2 wins, 50 Ks with a 7.14 ERA. Obviously, he spent some time in the minors too. He's got a 1.75 WHIP. And on Yahoo, he's currently ranked 1,137th. So,
wow.
Major.
What was that? Did you say 1,000?
Yeah, major bust there so far for Miller, but he has pitched better lately, and I am interested in him in the second half. The next one I probably got the most wrong, and that was Francisco Lindor. Now, when I was making that list in the offseason, I was thinking, well, I don't think Lindor is going to be bad, but I don't think he's going to show the power. But the power's been there this season for him. He's batting .299 with 10 home runs, 43 RBIs, and 13 stolen bases. You could get him in the 9th or 10th round. He was the 6th shortstop off the board, but he's currently ranked 32nd in Yahoo. So definitely a big miss by me there, avoiding Lindor.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I mentioned him on the All-Star team, right?
Yeah. And then, so that's definitely a loss there. And then my third guy was John Lackey for the Cubs. You could get him in the 14th round. He was the 38th pitcher off the board. I was thinking then that he had a career year with St. Louis. Most of that was done at Busch Stadium. and I thought the ERA would rise, which it has some. He's pitched 110 innings, 7 wins, 111 Ks. I thought the Ks would go down, but they're still there. And the 3.5 ERA is okay, but I mean, the 1.0 whip is great. So, I mean, he's currently ranked 128th on Yahoo. So I would call that a miss there too on Lackey.
Yeah, for someone who's getting into his upper 30s, he just seems to be striking out people at a quite consistent rate these days.
Yeah.
All right, I'll continue on with the next 3 from your sleepers list here. Staying with batters, I got Devin Travis. He was on the DL initially and has recently came out, I say like the end of May, he came in. It's at 262, 20 runs scored, 5 home runs, 20 RBIs with 3 stolen bases. You're able to get him in the 220s in ESPN, 256 at Yahoo, so basically your very, very last pick. 267.16 in Fantrax. On the season, his Yahoo rank's only 753 because he's only played a couple of weeks here, but over his last month, he's turned it up. He's 144 over his last 30.
Yeah, I've been really encouraged. I was a little bit afraid that the shoulder might be affecting him when he got off the DL, but I'm pretty happy with what he's done so far.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say like it's a either way right now because he's still kind of getting going, but he has get one correct.
The jury's still out there.
Next, we got Max Kepler, Maximilian here, 244. 18 runs scored with 6 home runs, 26 RBIs, 2 stolen bases. He is undrafted in both ESPN and Yahoo. Able to get him at 491.03 in Fantrax. Just like Travis, he's just recently been called up, so his season rank for Yahoo. However, over his last 30, he is the 61st ranked player.
Right. I thought the average would be better for him, but I'm pretty surprised by the power he's shown lately. I didn't peg him for that guy, but I have him in deeper leagues, 20-team leagues, but obviously he hasn't been relevant at all in 12-team.
All right, so also kind of jury's still out, but definitely trending in the right direction to making that also a win for you. And the next guy I'll talk about, Dalton Pompey. Also been stuck in AAA all season. He's been 280 down there, 23 runs scored with 1 home run, 14 RBIs. He does have 10 steals. He was undrafted in both ESPN and Yahoo, and 528.95 was his ADP in Fantrax. Looks like he's kind of buried down in AAA right now for Toronto. I don't see him coming up anytime soon, so I think he's a very, very deep sleeper and probably a miss as of now.
Right, I would call that a swing and miss there. I don't see him being relevant at all at any time.
All right, who's your next 3 bust candidates?
All right, my next guy you could get in the 6th round, and he was the 6th third baseman off the board in Yahoo, and that's Todd Frazier, who's been kind of a mixed bag this year. He's got a 211 average, but he's got 23 home runs, 52 RBIs, and 6 stolen bases. But I'm just saying, wait for the second half because he's a notoriously bad second half player. So the home runs are nice, but I expect that to decline in the second half. So I would call that a kind of loss, but I expect the numbers to be pretty bad towards year end.
Right, all the power numbers are pretty solid, but that horrible batting average is just. I mean, I think he qualifies for the lowest batting average for anyone that has over like 150 at bats, right?
Right, and when you have 23 home runs, you'd think you would have better than a 768 OPS, but hasn't been there for him. He's currently ranked 119th in Yahoo. He was ranked 60th coming in, so he hasn't been what people have drafted him to be. So I think that qualifies somewhat as a bust there.
Yeah, I consider that a win. He's not playing up to his ADP at the current moment.
Right. My next player was the 27th pitcher off the board. You could get him in the 10th round, and that's Michael Wacha for the Cardinals. Yeah. He's been better as of late, but it's been a pretty off season for him. He's pitched 98.2 innings, 85 Ks, 5 wins, with a 4.38 ERA and a 1.41 WHIP, and he's currently ranked 686 on Yahoo. So definitely been a bust there.
Yeah, that's some high numbers there. Yeah, have him in a deeper dynasty, and I dropped him, and I picked him back up after he had a good start. So yeah, that's definitely a bust.
Right. And then my next player, you could draft him in the 7th round. He was the 25th outfielder off the board, and that's Yasiel Puig, who has been injured for part of the season. Currently, he's batting .256 with 7 home runs, 26 RBIs, 4 stolen bases. Currently ranked 443rd on Yahoo. Obviously, some of that's the injury, but I think it's pretty safe to say he's still a bust too.
Oh yeah, that's bust city, and because of his name and his initial flash in his rookie year, his ADP was a lot higher than he's actually performing at right now.
Right.
All right, let's hop back on the sleeper train here. We got one of your favorite players of all time, I believe, Stephen Piscotty.
Oh, yeah.
Batted .292 so far with 50 runs scored, 10 home runs, 44 RBIs. He's thrown in 4 stolen bases. You're able to get him 2077 in ESPN, 2097 in Yahoo, and a little higher ADP in Fantrax at 143.09. His season rank in Yahoo is 106, so he's forming his ADP. However, he's kind of been struggling over his last 30. He's only at 366 over the last month.
Right, although he's shown signs of coming out of it. He hit a grand slam a couple days ago, and he got a 3-run home run today. So showing some power again.
Yeah, that's definitely a W in the book right there.
Right.
And this next player is a little concerning with some news that's recently come out about him. But Jung Ho Kang, he's been 255, 21 runs scored, 11 home runs, 30 RBIs, 2 stolen bases. The ADP in Yahoo 167 for. Yahoo was 215.8, 166.39 in Fantrax. However, his season rank is 499, and over his past month, he's at 539. He's off the L and has sat multiple games due to little nagging injuries here and there. And then just recently, there's been a report of possible sexual assault that happened when he was in Chicago on a recent road trip.
Right, and he came off the DL swinging with a lot of home run power, but we haven't been seeing that lately, and with the recent news that's come out, I'm really concerned about him.
Yeah, so as of now, that's definitely a bust, but if he doesn't get suspended or, I don't know, banned or whatever, he still has the second half to possibly make that up.
Right.
All right, so last play ahead before we get back to you there is JT Realmuto, batting .320, 30 runs scored, 5 home runs, 25 RBIs with 7 steals. You're able to get him very late at 230.5 in ESPN, 240.8 in Yahoo, and 222 in Fantrax. He's right about where his ADP is, though. He's at 249 over the season in Yahoo. However, over the past month, he's been up at 119 rank, so it's been turning on lately.
Right, and also with the catcher position being as it is, a catcher that doesn't kill your average and gives you steals is not bad.
320 helps your average. That can't hurt you at all. A lot better than Todd Frazier.
Right. All right. For my bust, here's a guy I really whiffed on, and that was Marco Estrada. He was the 84th pitcher off the board, 22nd round. He's gone 104.1 innings, 5 wins, 99 Ks, 2.93 ERA, and .99 WHIP. Obviously, he's on the DL right now, but definitely missed on him. He was coming into the season ranked as 264th, and he's currently 94th.
And I think he's just slightly outperforming his ADP.
Yeah. So that's a definite miss there. Next guy, the Minnesota second baseman Brian Dozier. You could get him in the 8th round. He was the 5th second baseman off the board. He's currently batting .252, 13 home runs, 41 RBIs, 7 stolen bases. His preseason rank was 76th. He's 104th, but that's definitely not enough to call him a bust. He's been pretty solid this season.
Yeah, that's just basically like his last month. He was big time bust over the first couple of months of the season, but his last month he's been just on fire and really brought it around.
Right, and this is another guy that sometimes struggles in the second half, so definitely watch there, but maybe he won't because he struggled so much in the first half. So my next guy is actually a Red Sox. You could get him in the 12th round, and that's Hanley Ramirez. In the offseason, I thought Travis Shaw was going to take his job. Obviously, Shaw took Sandoval's job instead. For the season, Ramirez is batting .287 with 8 home runs, 48 RBIs, and 6 stolen bases. His current rank is 62. His preseason was 115th, so definitely outperforming that. You'd like to see a little more power, but the ratios are pretty good in that good Boston lineup.
Right, yeah, so obviously helped out by that lineup. And like you said, you thought he was going to lose his job. He's held on to the first base job. He doesn't exactly have the power that you might have been looking for out of a first baseman, but he hasn't killed you either.
Right.
All right, back to the sleeper list here. We get into the pitchers you had on your in your sleepers. You got Matt Moore. His ERA's been 4th. A whip of 1.31. He's got 5 wins, 93 Ks over the season so far. You're able to get him at 226.5 in ESPN, 245.9 in Yahoo, 230.53 in Fantrax. His season rank is 371 over in Yahoo. However, over his last month, he's really been stepping it up. He's 49th over the last 30 days.
Right, and I think I'll never not believe in Moore just because of his pedigree and his past. He's been a pretty mixed bag this season. I'm still holding out hope for a good second half.
Yeah, he's been hit and miss. His last couple of starts where he's had no hitters going into like the 5th and 6th innings have really helped his performance as of late.
Right.
All right, your next pitcher here, we got Daniel Norris. His ERA's been 4.85, a 1.54 whip. He's only got 1 win so far and 16 Ks. He's been hurt most of the season, just came back, and I believe has just gone back on the DL recently. He's undrafted in ESPN, basically undrafted at 247.1 in Yahoo, 289.21 in Fantrax. His Yahoo ranked season is 4.81. Over the past 34.64, so
right. Couldn't see the injuries coming, but hasn't produced anything really for fantasy teams.
Yeah, that's more of a sleeper due to injury, bust due to injury kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
However, your next player, I think you got very right here. We got Jared Eichhoff, or fuck off, depending on which website you subscribe to. He's had a 3.30 ERA, 1.23 whip, 6 wins, 91 strikeouts. He was undrafted in ESPN, You can get him in the very last round of your Yahoo drafts. And in Fantrax, he's going at 286.54. But season long in Yahoo, he's 153. And even more impressively, over his last 30 days, he's the 34th ranked player.
Right. Take away that bad 5-6 starts that he had in the middle of the first half, and his numbers would be even better.
Yeah, that's a win all the way right there. I mean, undrafted to, a guy that's about 12th round value. Absolutely. Take it all day.
Right. And one of my busts I had listed was one of your all-star snubs, and that's Nelson Cruz. 277 average, 22 home runs, 57 RBIs. You could get him in the 4th round. 14th outfielder off the board. His preseason rank was 35. His current rank is 30. So basically, he's producing on how you drafted him. And I thought the power would go away because the doubles were way down last season. But Nelson Cruz is still Nelson Cruz.
All right. He's just thinking like he maybe getting a little older and was going to start losing some of his speed.
Right, I did. You know, the extra base hits were down last season. I thought that might be a sign that he's starting to slow down, but so far hasn't seemed that way. Next guy, I don't know if you could. Well, he was pretty high ranked on Yahoo, but I couldn't actually find his average draft position, so I'm not sure where he was. But that's Alex Rodriguez with the Yankees. His preseason rank, according to Yahoo, was 171st. His current rank is 673rd. That's mostly because of a 220 average, 8 home runs, 28 RBIs. He doesn't even play every day for the Yankees, so he's not been good.
Yeah, he's had a DL stint, and yeah, he's just been not like David Ortiz in his final season here.
Yeah. And then the last guy is more of a bust due to injury, and that's Brett Anderson, who hasn't pitched, period, because of an injury. So that's basically why he's a bust there. Who knows what happened if he pitched, but yeah, he's not pitching all year.
Yeah, that's a win by default right there.
Yeah.
All right. As for your last 3 sleepers here, Drew's got a 5.47 ERA, 1.32 WHIP, with a whole lovely 2 wins for the season. Does have 108 Ks though, however. You get him at 1.376 in ESPN, 193.5 in Yahoo, and 179.59 in Fantrax. However, his season-long rank is 688, and that's 30 of 787. So I think he's more of a bust than a sleeper right now.
Right.
He's really been getting hit around pretty hard. But looks like another win here, or slightly win at least. Got Steven Matz. It's 3.34 ERA, 1.21 WHIP. Got 7 wins and 85 strikeouts. Yeah, had 164.7 in ESPN, 147 in Yahoo. However, in Fantrax, he's going at 117.24. So you're looking right around the end of the 10th round there. The most 12-team drafts over in Fantrax. His season-long Yahoo is 142. However, over the last month, he's been getting lit up a little bit. He's at 678 over his last 30. So, as far as the ESPN and Yahoo ADP, he's right about exactly where you had to draft him. So, I consider that a win because you just don't want them to underperform, at least perform at the level or above.
Right.
But yeah, he's got concerns with, I believe, bone spurs in his elbow?
Spurs, yeah, just like Syndergaard, he's dealing with that too.
As of now, pitching through it, so keep an eye out on that. But now, and the last sleeper that you have here is not a very good one, unfortunately. But Luis Severino.
Oh, that hurts. Yeah.
7.46 ERA, 1.49 WHIP, with as many wins as you and I have. He had a whole 27 Ks before he was on the DL and sent back to AAA. But his ADP was a 206.4 in ESPN, 200.6 in Yahoo, and actually quite higher, surprisingly, in Fantrax at 139.32. I think that's because you can, like I said, you have some minor league rosters on Fantrax where you can stash players. So that's why he was going a little early in those drafts.
Right.
And his season-long Yahoo rank is 891, though.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we were most of us were all in on Severino. He's probably one of the biggest disappointments of the year, along with this next bust, and that is Dallas Keuchel. He was drafted in the 4th round. Pull that up. Yeah, no, sorry, 5th round. He's the 15th starting pitcher off the board. And I thought the strikeouts would regress, and so far they have. 113 innings, 6 wins, 99 Ks, 502 WHIP, and a 1.4 WHIP. His preseason was 48th. His current is 809th on Yahoo. So,
if I'm not mistaken, isn't he the reigning AL Cy Young Award winner?
He definitely is, and I don't think he's going to repeat. It is note that he has pitched better lately. Not great, but not bad. But overall numbers are pretty awful.
Yeah, he didn't really set the bar too high for himself.
No. The next guy, it's tough to call him a bust, but based on where he was drafted, you have to call him. That's Zach Greinke for the Diamondbacks. He was drafted in the 4th round. He was the 8th starting pitcher off the board on Yahoo. And when you look at the numbers, they're not bad, but they're not Greinke. 109.1 innings. The 10 wins is great. 91 Ks, 3.62 WHIP, and a 3.62 ERA and a 1.16 WHIP. His preseason rank is 42nd, and he's 165th. So he hasn't been vintage Greinke.
Yeah, he's only on the DL himself, so I definitely consider that a bust. You think he might get traded? I mean, the D-backs are kind of in between. Like, do they stay with what they got? Do they trade away some pieces and rebuild? You think he might get traded if he comes back healthy?
I don't. Mostly because of the contract, and I don't think the Diamondbacks GM has the courage to do that. Say, oh well, it didn't work. I mean, maybe they'll do something like the Padres did. Kind of admitting that they did wrong. But I don't see Greinke getting traded. I mean, when you look at his numbers, like if you replace Zach Greinke's name with James Paxton, you'd love those numbers, but not Greinke.
Right, not Greinke, and not the amount of money they had to pay for him.
Right, and my last guy has been pretty good. He's not been a bust, and that's Adrian Beltre. You could get him in the 8th round. He was also the 8th third baseman off the board. He's batting .280 with 12 home runs and 53 RBIs. And the big thing for him was that his average, I think, had declined for 4 or 5 years in a row. And if he finishes with 280, that trend will continue. But he's not been bad enough to call a bust. He was 75th in the preseason. He's 113th now. He's slowly regressing, but it looks like he's not going to fall off that cliff.
Yeah, he's kind of like Cruz. He's still solid, still hanging on, still being relevant.
Right.
I'm starting to notice, though, Cruz and Beltre and Hanran, a lot of you guys seem to be a little bit older. Are you a ageist, Andrew?
I do tend to like the unknown quantities of younger guys than the older guys because, I mean, not everybody's David Ortiz.
Yeah, that's true. All right. What else we got here?
Well, I'll mention two more guys because I actually had two more busts than I did sleepers. I don't have the first guy was Brett Gardner. His preseason rank was 99th. He's 256. 5 home runs, 16 RBIs, 12 stolen bases, which is nice, but doesn't make up for what he hasn't done. So he's definitely been a bust this season. And the next guy I got absolutely wrong, and that's Injuriessssssssss. He was 39th in the preseason. He's 27th now. He's got 21 home runs, 51 RBIs with a 299 average. I thought what he did with the Mets in the second half last year would make him be overdrafted, but he's actually outperformed where he was drafted.
Yeah, was you concerned about the lack of protection around him in that lineup?
Right, that, and I just thought that he couldn't replicate the numbers that he did with the Mets, especially the average. I thought the average would decline.
All right. Plus, isn't he like 35 now?
I don't think he's that old. I actually don't know his age. I think he's in his lower 30s, isn't he?
I thought he was about his mid-30s, but
Let's see. He's 30 years old.
oh, he's only 30.
Yeah.
All right. I was just trying to get you to be an ageist again.
All right. Well, I don't know the exact number, but I would say it's something like a 50-50 so far in this season on the predictions.
Yeah, not bad, not bad.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, James mentions Trumbo. He wasn't on my bust list, but I totally missed him on my sleepers list. I didn't draft him. Anyone who drafted him he's probably one of the best late picks of the season.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
All right. Well, we're approaching about the hour mark. Obviously, this is on a Thursday because I will be on vacation starting tomorrow, and it'll be all next week. So we're going to be taking a 1-week break from the podcast. Remember, you don't have to wait for our podcast to ask us questions. You can hit me up on Twitter at FantasyAid1.
And any questions for me can be directed at Joe Deef, JoeDieff.
And if you think I'm an ageist, just let me know on Twitter. I fully admit I kind of get biased towards some of the older guys. So.
And also, what's that other website you signed to write for?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you can always talk to us on FantasySportsAddicts.com. I'll be writing another article for them again soon. And, me, JD, we got James, obviously Joe and Tom, and J Money on there. We're always on there. So if you want to talk fantasy, hit us up. And, they do stuff like football, basketball. So if you're into that stuff, we're just a bunch of fantasy sports addicts on that site. And you should definitely check it out and join us.
Oh, yeah. Hopefully get that football going up pretty soon. And they just had a mid-season Fantrax league. So, got some things going on over there. Check out their vids.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Their channel is Fantasy Sports Addicts Anonymous on YouTube. Check them out. They make hilarious videos, and they know their stuff too.
Yes, you may or may not see Ryan actually pieing a pug.
Right, they do a lot of pie bets over there, and I'm training for a pie bet right now, and that's NBA 2K15. I'm trying to work on my skills there, so me and Ryan can have a showdown.
Yeah, is that a possible stream in the work in there?
Yeah, I definitely think one of us would stream that. I got a lot of work to do before we get to that point, though.
Yeah, for what I hear, he's quite good at that game.
Yeah. All right. Well, we had a lot to cover there. I mean, not 7 days, but a lot happens.
Yeah, I mean, surprising it's only been 5 days, but with this All-Star break coming up, I think a couple of teams decide to use the extra couple of days to buy some days off where they actually aren't losing production out of their lineups.
Right. Right. And obviously, you got the 2-week lineups in most fantasy there. So, what do you think of that? I kind of find it weird how you got 3 days, you got to set your lineups, and you don't set your lineups for like 5 days, and then the next week still counts too.
Well,
If ideally for me, what we would do is we would start this week as the 2-week thing, and then do the 3 days for next week, just so you don't have the big split. But just
right.
something
Well,
I thought about.
I think they just want to kind of like have their own little All-Star break where they don't have to do much for a couple of days, and then it's just the way it has to be done. Because with head-to-head leagues and stuff like that, you can't have a 3-day week. So,
Right. All right. Well, thanks for joining me. It's been a good podcast.
yeah, fun as always.
Hopefully, the next time we talk, Clayton Kershaw will be pitching.
Yeah.
So I'll see you then, and thanks everyone for listening. Remember, at FantasyAid1 is my Twitter.
And I'm at Joe Deef.
For Fantasy Aid, thanks for watching.